Okay. If you want to shake things up, you start with something small. You break a norm or an idea or convention, some little business model, but you go with things that people are kind of tired of anyway. Everybody gets excited because you're busting up something that everyone wanted broken in the first place. That's the infraction point. That's the place where you have to look within yourself and ask, am I the kind of person who will keep going? Will you break more things? Break bigger things? Be willing to break the thing that nobody wants you to break. Because at that point, people are not going to be on your side. They're going to call you crazy. They're going to say you're a bully. They're going to tell you to stop. Even your partner will say, you need to stop. Because as it turns out, nobody wants you to break the system itself. But that is what true disruption is. And that is what unites all of us. We all got to that line and crossed it. See? Yeah. So.
Bam. And then he gave the middle finger cross F-bombs after that. Shalom Malakim, peace be on you. Yahweh for Christians, Yehonathan, we with you here on what they call the 12th of March, 2023. Chris, you are the man. He did that all at the last minute, at the last minute, 30 seconds. Because this is the overriding theme of what I'm trying to get through in this Bimil Altar series, in his own words, is that Yahweh Shua is indeed breaking the glass onion. I don't have no royalty rights because I keep talking about this movie from Netflix. I just get the deeper understanding of it. And that one line is the exact thing that Yahweh Shua came down, born in the manger in Bethlehem, and then walked the earth for 32 years or whatever, died on the almond tree on the Mount of Olives, and resurrected and returned for us. He came to indeed break the glass onion, if you will. He is Edward Norton's character in that one scene, and those who were with him to join in was the disciples in breaking this glass onion, even though they did not quite get it. That is I just hope you're getting what, I hope you can hear that, what he was saying. It's about going all the way to the point that even those who follow you say, dude, you got to stop. You can't go for it. You can't do. Don't keep going, because ultimately the leaders don't want it shattered because they know it's not right, but they don't want it changed because then they lose their power. Under the new paradigm, they are powerless. They exercise all control the way it is now. The status quo is what they want. And Yahweh Shua did not come to keep things the way they were. Otherwise, he would stay right there on his throne. He don't need to come down here. So today's topic is the Centurion servant. This is the first action after that sermon. The Centurion servant. But I still have a whole lot to talk about for last week and about giving a summary of this sermon. This is Moshe 2.0. On the Mount of Olives, we got Moshe 1.0 on Mount Sinai. This is Moshe 2.10 in the person of Yahweh Shua. So I want to kind of give a summary to that sermon. Now last week we talked about how the Hebrews leaders, they had a clinical approach in their access to Yahweh. Very clinical. Not heart and passion, not faith and believing. It was learning the Torah, and that is saying's faith. You just learn that, live that, and you have access to Yahweh. No emotion, no passion, no love, none of that. We talked about how in Matthew 12 about cleaning the house. Now Pastor Williams talking about cleaning of the house. But what happened is the soul ended up worse off. Because in Revelations, Yahushua says, behold, I stand at the door and knock. If any man open the door, I will come to him and sup with him, and he with me. So if you don't replace the empty house with him, then it gets worse. 7 more demons come into your house. We talked about how perfection is not enough. And you're like, what? If it's perfect, what do you mean it's not enough? No, it's not enough. Perfection begins our heart for relationship. And in relationship, we have completion of our purpose. Perfection alone is not enough. So you have the perfect car sitting there on the lot. What good is it? Unless a brother's in there or somebody in there driving it. So the perfect car means nothing unless it's being used for its purpose, which is to drive it. Adam a tree is perfect, an apple tree is perfect, standing there, just living this tree life. It is worthless if it's never eaten from. Worthless. The purpose of the apple tree is for you to eat off of it. Eat the apples. Otherwise, the apples get smaller and smaller every year. They get shriveled, and the apple tree gets gnarled up. Eventually, if it's never ever used, eventually the apple tree will die. Now, it will procreate other apple trees as the apples fall off, but that one will die. So perfection is not enough. To be complete, you must fulfill your purpose. So remember that. And then we talk about judging begins in the heart. Y'all remember, Yahweh is breaking the glass onion. Judging, you say don't judge. Well, you have to judge. How you gonna know which food item to buy off the shelf? You gotta make a judgment. How you gonna know which movie to look at on Netflix? You gotta make a judgment. How you gonna know which way to turn or who to listen to, who to believe? How you gonna know? You gotta make judgments. So Yahweh is not saying don't judge like that, because then you just stand still. You make judgments every day. What he's saying is that proper judgment comes with discernment. Discernment comes with relationship with him. Once you have a relationship with him, then you have discernment to make the proper judgments, because judgments starts from within the heart. And the heart must have a relationship with him, have proper discernment to make your judgments. That's what he means about getting that big old plank out of your eye before you look at the speck in your brother's eye. That's what he was talking about. And then I wanted to read the kicker of the last two verses of the sermon, which he called the Sermon on the Mount. Matthew 7, verses 24 to 27. Let me see if that is it. Matthew 7, 24. Yep, that was it. That ends the sermon. Now he drops the mic on that. So, this is what he says at the end. I didn't get to last week. Yahweh speaking. Therefore, whomever hears these sayings of mine and does them, I will liken him to a wise man who built his house on the rock. And the rain descended, and the floods came, and the winds blew and beat on that house, and it did not fall, because it was founded on the rock. But everyone who hears these sayings of mine and does not do them will be like a foolish man who built his house on the sand. And the rain descended, and the floods came, and the winds blew and beat on that house, and it fell, and great was its fall. He ended his sermon right there. In other words, you don't build on this man right here. Whatever you're building is a waste of time, because once the trials and tribulations come upon it, it's not going to stand. It's not going to stand. Now, here, verses 20 and 29 is really what I wanted to say. Now, first of all, before I read verses 20 and 29, I want to ask you this. In hearing this sermon for this past month, I think it was 4 months before, 4 weeks of lessons, did you really find that you learned anything? Did you really feel like in shock and awe of anything that was said? Did you really stop and say, Did you get an aha moment? Did it really change your world? Well, if it did none of those things, that shows that really you already have a box understanding of Yahweh and what you call the gospel, how everything is supposed to be, how we're supposed to interact with him. You already have a box understanding. Either that or you truly did get this. Because let me tell you what the reaction was by the 15,000 plus souls at the base of this mountain. Here's the reaction in verses 28 and 29. And so it was when Yahweh had ended these sayings that the people were astonished at his teaching, because he taught them as one having authority and not as the scribes. They were astonished. See, in other words, what they heard, everything, and I gave the background of everything that Yahweh spoke of, all comes from the so-called Old Testament. Remember, there was no New Testament. So everything that the scribes and the Pharisees, everything that the Yahweh, anything that a teacher taught from, every rabbi was teaching from the so-called Old Testament. So that means everything that Yahweh Shua gave came from Moshe and the prophets and the Psalms and the wisdom literature. Everything came from there. Then why are they so astonished? Why are they so shocked and taken aback? Why are they beside themselves? Unless it was they saw, wait a minute, this is the Ruach, the spirit of what we were learning all of our lives, and our forefathers. This is the essence, the ingredients of the food that was given to us. This is different. This man is speaking with authority. In other words, this man understands. Let's talk about those two words, astonished and authority. See, I'm trying to get you to understand that Yahushua shattered. This is something new, an understanding is brand new, outside of the box that they had him in, that they had the Torah in. This is shattering the glass onion and understanding of the information that Yahushua wanted to give to his creation about him, and about how we broke off our relationship with him, and how he reconciled us back to him via his son, and how he's going to come back to receive those who got it. The ones who got it, where it clicked. Now, this word astonished, the Greek is ekplasi, let me see, ekplasiso, okay? You can find it in your concordance number 1605, ekplasiso. And it means astonished, to strike out with panic, amazement, and shock. Yet I'm reading from here every week, and no one communicated to me that they was astonished and shocked. Reading to you B'milelta, in his words, what he's saying about the Torah. No one contacted me and say how astonished and shocked and taken aback they were of this message. Why? Because I guess you think you already knew it. You already had it. Thank you very much. Go to the next topic. But in fact, if you really didn't, you didn't get the deeper understanding of any of these things that Yahushua was dropping on us at this mountain. And he said he taught with authority. This authority means weight, moral soundness. The way they got the Torah was without moral soundness. This is what they got last week when I opened up with that rabbi's statement last week, where it's just an engagement with Yahweh of knowledge. And acting on that knowledge sans heart, sans emotion. Having a nice dish of food your wife gave you with no seasoning on it. Nice meal, not even a grain of salt, let alone some curry or whatever. No seasoning. They were getting the Torah, and Yahushua gave them the seasoning. He gave them the mango juice, and they were shocked. They were shocked and amazed in awe of this sermon. Not yet, but we're going to get to him. I want to, let me go ahead and do a quick summary. Because I really was hoping that someone would say, you know what, brother? That was deep. I really never knew that. Moshe, Yahushua, he really prepped this whole sermon. All right, remember, this is his launch to his second year of his ministry. This sermon launches the beginning of the second year of his ministry. In the prior year, he prepped us. He prepped us with talking to the Samaritan woman. Remember, he talked to the Samaritan woman at the well. And at the well, my man's going to give us a hearing of it when I give him the cue. But it was a fascinating dialogue between Yahushua and this woman at the well, the Samaritan woman at the well. And we're going to listen to just a small take on it by this Greek and Hebrew scholar. But at this well, you got him talking at a well with a woman who is a Samaritan, talking about water and living waters and worship and mountains and stuff. All kinds of stuff here. So Yahushua is prepping us. Everything he talked about was rooted in the so-called Old Testament. And this conversation he has with this woman at the well, if you can see the spirit of it, is a very intimate conversation. It's a spiritually intimate conversation he's having with this woman. and they have it at a well dug by Jacob. And here's something I just learned in doing my research for this. This land, this area of Samaria, is the land that Jacob gave to Yusuf. Now, did you get that? And why that is deep? This is why that matters. He's at a well, talking to a Samaritan woman, who we saw as the original culture vultures. They in our land, and they pretending to be Hebrews. They fake brews, as far as we see it. And they're in a land that was given to Yusuf. Well, Yusuf is the progenitor of Ephraim and Manasseh. That is the 10 northern tribes of the diaspora that goes around the whole world. Yehuda, their diaspora was all throughout the so-called land of Africa. Judah, for the most part, did not get spread throughout the whole world. They got spread all throughout so-called Africa. But Ephraim and Manasseh, which is the father or the mother of the 10 northern tribes, is what got spread throughout the world, including the Western transatlantic slave trade, which is why you are over here now speaking English. So we got Yahushua talking to a Samaritan woman in the land of which is going to be the type of the diaspora, to a woman that we are already prejudiced against. And here's something else I learned in doing this research. Remember, the record says this was happening at the 6th hour. Now, the 6th hour is 12 noon, and what we call it. So it's high noon. Well, what else happened at the 6th hour? The only other time the 6th hour is mentioned is in the 19th chapter of John, where at the 6th hour, Yahushua was presented to us as saying, are we going to accept him or not? Barabbas. Okay, he was set. It was Barabbas and Yahushua set against each other. Barabbas means son of the Father. And we said we wanted the son of the Father, who was a murderer. We let the murderer go, and we told him to take and execute Yahushua, who is the son of the Father. That happened at 12 noon, high noon. At high noon, Yahweh's chosen seed, us, that we like to beat our chest and brag about, we rejected the Messiah at 12 noon. Here, Yahushua is talking to a Samaritan woman who we hate and say she's a culture vulture and unclean. At 12 noon, she accepts him. This is deep knowledge I'm giving. This is deep. You should be getting chill bumps right now. In chapter 3, remember, all this is before the sermon of John. We've come up with one of our leaders, Nicodemus, come to Yahushua at night. Yeah, Nick at night. And saying, okay, I know you're a rabbi, you teaching, you use something, but didn't acknowledge Yahushua for who he was. And he didn't get what Yahushua was laying down about being born again. He didn't get it. It wouldn't click. The entire narrative Yahushua was trying to say, you must be born again to understand me, accept me. The brother didn't get it. Our Jewish leaders now, our leaders. But did the Samaritan woman got it? She understood. See, the whole thing, and in chapter 4, we talk about how the Samaritans, they're ritually impure. We say they're ritually impure. They are culture vultures. And throughout the entire time, Yahshua is dealing with his people, us, who are supposed to get it. They're supposed to click. They're supposed to understand and not getting it. In the meantime, every last person Yahushua encounters that is not Hebrew understood and got it. It clicked. It clicked. They got it, understood. Oh, this is Hamashiach. This is the man that we've been reading about, hearing about. It's always the one who's supposed to get it, don't get it. Do not. It wasn't not Yahweh said in Isaiah, I'm not going to go there, but I'll just tell you. Isaiah 42:19, Yahweh says, who is blind but my servant? Isaiah 42:19. The one that's blind is his own children. And here we are today in what's this? The 12th day of March 2023, the year of their Lord. New Brews still ain't getting it. Still blind. Still blind. To this day, not getting that Yahweh Shua says, you must be born again and receiving me. Just like Nicodemus. The milieu of this narrative is in Yusuf's land. The land of the diaspora. The land of the diaspora. And what did Yahweh Shua said in John 1:11? That he came to his own, and his own received him not. Can you imagine that? You call your children come in to eat, they don't listen to you. Children not yours, they come in, they go ahead and come in and eat. This is a hurtful thing. This is a hurtful thing. He said, Matthew 15:24, that I came only for the lost children of the tribe of Israel. Here he is coming, and they do not receive him. Here I am now every week teaching this thing with all the power and might Yahshua gives me. And I still lose a few little ones I got because they going to keep those 600 something commandments no matter what the Torah says. In spite of what the law says, they're going to keep it instead of going on with the two. See, what's noteworthy about this narrative of the woman at the well, in Hebrew, the word for well is be'er. Like beer, be'er. I know y'all like beer. I know I do. Be'er is the Hebrew word for well. And at the well, whenever you hear a narrative at the well, look for the deeper spiritual meaning. Abraham's servant found Yitzhak's wife Rebekah at the be'er. Yaakov found his wife Rachel at the be'er. Moshe, whom you love so much, found his wife Zipporah at the be'er, at the well. The well of water, Yahweh Shua says, I am the rock. He watered us for 40 years in the desert with that moving well, the rock of living waters. When a child is born, when a woman breaks her water, you know the baby's coming. You're born. Living water. You don't want still waters. And you know the thing about it is, no one remembers their birth. Yeah, I remember. I was born at an early age, and no one remembers their birth. But everyone remembers their being born again. You remember who influenced you, who inspired you. You remember who baptized you. You remember being born again. You remember that. The connection at the well leads to anything you hear about these stories about the well, it leads to a following of the covenant. All those women that our forefathers got at the well followed the man and entered into the covenant with Yahweh. The Samaritan woman, she entered into the covenant with Yahweh Shua. She received it. She got it. She understood. And again, before this sermon at the well, Yahweh Shua prepped us. He prepped us with stories about Elijah's relationship with the woman at Zarephath, and what was going on with Elijah and this woman from Zarephath. We were in the midst of 3 years of drought of rain. 3 years. Yahshua's ministry lasted 3 years. Yahshua was buried under the earth for 3 days. He resurrected. You're not getting it? No rain, no living water for 3 years. And Elijah was with a non-Hebrew woman for part of that time and did miracles for her. Y'all didn't get it. You didn't get what Yahshua was laying down about Elijah. Well, they got it because they hated him. The leaders hated him for giving that story. How about the story he gave about Elisha healing Naaman? And how was Naaman healed? By dipping in the water. Naaman, a non-Hebrew, not only was he a non-Hebrew, he raided the Hebrews and got rich off of us by killing and raiding us. Yet he was healed by Elisha of his leprosy, which was his secret sin, which happened to be of pride. But y'all didn't get it. Once again, going outside of the Hebrews, the one with the Hebrew shirts and the Hebrew hats and beating on their shirts about being Judah and don't know nothing. And now we got here today where he is with the Samaritan woman at the well of living waters. 3 examples right there. 3 examples of how Yahshua was saying, listen, I'm getting ready to expose myself here at this mountain. Now I'm in my second year. Now I'm coming out. In the first year, I was on the down low, and I was getting in where I fit in with who I wanted to have this information. Now I'm opening with it, and here y'all are not accepting me. Jeremiah 2:13. Y'all, I'm not going to go there because I do want to get into today's lesson about the Centurion servant. In Jeremiah 2:13, Yahweh says that his people now, his covenant people, you and me, who's it, black Hebrew Israelites, he says we have not just one evil, but two evils. We rejected him who is living water. And on top of that, we putting in water in a pot full of holes. So you got water that's going into pots with holes, so you ain't got nothing. And before that, you rejected him. So this is Old Testament talk about living waters. Yahweh Shua now in today, what you call the New Testament, is saying, I am the living waters. This is what the prophets talked about, and even Moshe talked about in the Torah, in the so-called Old Testament. This is not new information, but what's jaw-dropping is the understanding of it. And the understanding of it that he is the access to his Father, Yahweh. In John 4:20 and 20, he says, now is a time to worship him in spirit and truth. So our new brews are waking up with the truth, but you're not having the proper spirit of receiving Yahweh Shua. He's going to talk about washing of the feet when we're going to get to that later. And he says, you don't understand this now while I'm washing your feet, but you will later. Well, here we are over 2,000 years later. You should understand. Blood doesn't clean, it stains. Water cleans. All right, my brother. I want you to hear from Chad Bird, a scholar on Hebrew and Greek, and he's a teacher of this. Let's hear what he says about Jesus and the Samaritan woman at the well.
But Jesus says here the hour is coming, and now is. It's already been inaugurated in his own ministry. So there is definitely a shift away from temple worship to the worship of him who is the temple. Jesus says, destroy this temple, and in 3 days I will rebuild it. He's talking about the temple of his body. So when Jesus comes in his incarnation, he is the walking, talking, peripatetic temple, sanctuary, where we worship. A couple of other things. Salvation is from the Jews. That basically means, as Paul will talk about, that the promises, the patriarchs, the law, the worship, all of that was given to the Jews. So salvation comes from the Jews because it was to Abraham and to his descendants that God gave all these promises. So salvation originates in the Old Testament community of God around the promises that God gave to the patriarchs. So that's where salvation comes from. And it's fulfilled in the one who is the seed of Eve, the seed of Abraham, the son of David. He's the one who comes to bring us that life and that truth, that living water. And then finally, when he says, I speak to you, and that is a clear confession on the part of Jesus when he says to the Samaritan woman herself, I am the Messiah. Make no mistake about it. He says, I am that one. More than a prophet, more than just a Jewish man who's conversing with you here, I am in fact the anointed one of God who comes to give you living waters, life itself, the life of God, the Holy Spirit. So that's that part of John 4. Of course, the story goes on. I would encourage you to read it, but most of the readings, I think, stop around that verse, and we're at about our 30-minute mark, so we're going to stop as well. Thanks for watching. I hope and pray that...
Wow. See how Yahweh just gave that to me? That wasn't planned. This is... Now, because I do that because I know I'm lightly regarded, not highly respected. I don't have no doctorate degrees behind my name. But we do tend to like to listen to white men with degrees. We believe what they say out of their mouth. And this brother, in the name of the Lord God Jesus Christ, said the same thing I just said. There's a whole new access, a shadow of the glass onion to Yahweh. A whole new way. And it ain't the Moshe way. Not as you understand it. Outside the box. Is receiving the ruach of the spirit of it. Like he said, everything begins in our heart. And the only ones who got it are the non-covenanted peoples. Those are the only ones who understood it. The only ones who received it. Yahweh help. Help me get this through for the people to understand. And we should have understood, because way back in John 1:29, I mean, this is before the ministry even got off the ground started. Let me read that. Here's his cousin. John, let me see. I want to read that one. I do want to get into this lesson for today. John 1:20, his cousin says, "Behold, the Lamb of Yahweh who takes away the sins of the world." Takes away the sins of the world. Now, how is that deep and may have gotten over 99% of your head? He said, this is the Son of Yahweh. So right now we're telling you who he is. He takes away the sins of the world. Now let's go to the book of Hebrews and help explain that. The only book that actually says straight up is to Hebrews. To you, all right? You like to say you Hebrew. You black Hebrew Israelite. Let's go to Hebrews 10:4 to help maybe understand that. Hebrews 10:4, and it reads, talking about shattering this glass onion now, because it is not possible that the blood of bulls and goats could take away sins. Let me read it again real slow in English. It is not possible that the blood of bulls and goats could take away sins. That's in the book of Hebrews. And in John 1:29, his cousin John the Baptist says, "Behold the Lamb of Yahweh who takes away sins." Blood covers sins. This man washes it away. If you understood it, you would say, oh, what? This means this man is going to open his mouth and teach me something that I thought I already knew, that I thought I already had down pat, so much so that I could teach it. This man's going to tell me what I thought I knew and teach it to me in a different way, a new way. And that way is that in my way, your sins are washed away. Before me, before I came up here, before I come up into your face, into your space and your place, you was under a blood covenant with your sins covered. Now I'm here, hinter me, here am I come to wash them away. So your whole way before accessing to Yahweh is like you trying to get a Betamax. You just went out and bought a Beta and trying to use it on your flat screen TV. You trying to look at movies, trying to look at Shaft on a Betamax with a brand new 2023 flat screen TV. Trying to look at Starsky and Hutch or whatever else you got out there. You out there trying to listen to Al Green with a cassette. Or what's that, with the 8-track tape. And you got brand new 2023 Corvette. You trying to put an 8-track tape somewhere and try to get fit, try to listen to Al Green. The covenant, that portion of it is over. And Yahweh just came by to try to tell you this. And he says he came to his own and they rejected him. They rejected him. And why is this important? Why I keep talking about this every week, even at the expense of losing the few little people I have? By the way, please, for those who have not subscribed to Yahweh for Christians on the YouTube channel, please do so. Please do so. Help a brother out, get the numbers up. Subscribe to it. Like and share and all that stuff. Because here it is. I'm going to give you 3 scriptures that I'm not even going to go to. I want you to write them down, get your pen and paper, and this is why this is important. Why I keep emphasizing this over and over again. Why Yahweh should emphasize it. For this reason, these 3 scriptures, and I'm going to have to reteach them. Isaiah 25:7, Revelation 12:9, Revelation 20:7-9. Isaiah 25:7, Revelation 12:9, Revelation 20, verses 7, 8, and 9. Read those scriptures after this lesson today. And you'll see why we're trying to let you understand the purpose, the perfect Yahweh who completed his purpose in delivering this newfound way of access to his Father. Why it's so important. Because of those 3 scriptures, and there's others, of why you must understand what I'm putting down here, and what he's putting down here, really. You must receive the gravitas of this information. You must receive it. Now, now he dropped the mic on that sermon. Now here's the first thing that happens after that sermon. Just in case you still didn't quite get it. Let's go to Luke 7, 1 through 10. We're talking about the centurion servant. Luke 7. I'm just going to read verses 1 through 10 before I break it down. Luke 7 verses 1 through 10. This is after the sermon now, okay? Sermon's over, and after these things, Yahweh walked in Galilee, because he did not want to walk in Judea, because of the Hebrews sought to kill him. Look at that. Brother ain't do nothing wrong but try to teach and wake y'all up. Try to kill him. Now the Jews' feast, let me see, make sure I got the right place here. I'm going to start in here. Nope, I'm reading the wrong one. Let's see. Luke 7, 1 through 10. All right, here we go. All right, the narrative is in, I was not reading from Luke. Here's Luke 7, 1 through 10. Now, when he concluded all his sayings, see, right after the sermon, in the hearing of the people, he entered Capernaum. And a certain centurion servant who was dear to him was sick and ready to die. So when he heard about Yahweh, he sent elders of the Hebrews to him, pleading with him to come and heal his servant. And when they came to Yahweh, they begged him earnestly, saying that the one for whom he should do this was deserving, because he loves our nation and has built us a synagogue. And when Yahweh went with them, and when he was already not far from the house, the centurion sent friends to him, saying to him, Master, do not trouble yourself, because I am not worthy that you should enter under my roof. Therefore I did not even think myself worthy to come to you. But say the word, and my servant will be healed, because I also am a man placed under authority, having soldiers under me. And I say to one, go, and he goes. And to another, come, and he comes. And to another servant, do this, and he does it. When Yahweh heard these things, he marveled at him, and turned around and said to the crowd that followed him, I say to you, I have not found such faith, great faith, not even in Yisrael. Once again, we getting slapped in the face. Here's a non-Hebrew man who had the faith. Yahweh out of his mouth said, y'all ain't got that faith. That's not me saying it. He said it. Verse 10. And those who were sent, returning to the house, found the servant well, who had been sick. There we go with another strike against us. Yahweh said out of his own mouth, y'all ain't got the faith of this so-called white man. Yet y'all wearing all those seats y'all order from Amazon. Don't even fit the tour rules. Buying all those hats and wearing all those t-shirts. And on social media blasting Jews and blasting white men, and y'all ain't got faith. Then, so I'm going to supplement this narrative with Matthew 8 verses 11 and 12. It's the same narrative, but I want to read those two verses from Matthew's take on it. Matthew 8, 11 and 12. Just want to read those two verses on the same narrative. Yahweh says, and I say to you that many will come from the east and the west and sit down with Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob in the kingdom of Hashemayim. But the sons of the kingdom will be cast out with outer darkness. There will be weeping and gnashing of teeth. Yahweh see, Matthew added a little bit more to the narrative. He said, people looking like us, black folk, who claim to be Hebrews, the chosen seed, all right, He said they're going to come from the east and the west, sitting down with Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, and they, the sons of the kingdom, will be cast out of darkness. Why? Because previously before that, he says, surely I say to you, I have not found such great faith, not in Israel. That's verse 10 of Matthew 8. So we are the ones not showing the faith, and we're the ones who's going to be surprised like the goats on the left, who kept the law, and who's going to be cast into hell and out of darkness. That's what Yahweh Shua said. They're going to come up to his face, smiling like the cat who has the mouse, bring it to the owner, thinking they did something great. They're going to think they're getting in. And he said they're going to be cast into outer darkness. That's what he said. Because they don't have faith. They're not receiving him. They're not receiving him. Let me go to the commentary of the New Testament on the Old Testament, pages 280. Remember, I don't go here every week, but I want to go to this commentary once again to get support from the so-called white man with the doctorate degrees in Hebrew and Greek, and hear what they have to say about this narrative of healing the servant. I'm in the commentary of the New Testament on the Old Testament, pages 298 and 299. It says, while Jesus' summary of his own ministry in his response to the message of John in 7:22 connects this section to the Isaianic quotation in chapter 4, the two healing stories in this chapter may also recall the stories of Elijah and Elisha. Did I not say that? This healing of the centurion's servant should take our memory to the so-called Old Testament healings by Elijah and Elisha of non-Hebrew people. I just said that. And here is support on what I just said. So this is not a brand new concept. This is Yahweh Shua should be opening up our eyes about the proper understanding of his ministry and of your calling by his purpose. Now it reads on. It says that if Matthew 8, 5-13 serves as a parallel to this healing account, then the Lucan emphasis is easily identifiable. These include the worthiness of the centurion, see, he's worthy, the use of intermediaries, and the omission of the meeting between Jesus and the centurion. Although numerous Old Testament parallels have been suggested, the connections with Elisha's healing of Naaman in 2 Kings 5, 1-16 are there. Okay? Now, again, this is all they're saying is what I just said. We got in the Old Testament men, women who we hate, who we say are our enemies, who we despise, who we think are beneath us, getting healing from their faith in Yahweh. A foreign mighty one to them. He's foreign to them. This book goes on and says, also, without meeting Elisha in person, he only received instructions from the prophet through an intermediary. Moreover, the healing resulted in the recognition of the power of the prophet of Israel and the God whom he represents. Didn't even have to meet the prophet. And here in this narrative, the centurion didn't even have to meet Yahweh Shua. He just said, say the word, and it's done. Just say the word. Further down in this narrative, it says, this emphasis on the conversation of a Gentile also paves the way for the conversion account of Cornelius in Acts 10. Remember Cornelius in Acts 10? Where again a respected military officer communicates with the messenger of God through an intermediary. Then it ends says, Jesus' mission paves the way for the Gentile mission of his apostles. And who are his apostles today, or really his disciples? Is us. What this narrative says is that, so they call him Jesus, his mission paved the way for them to understand what they should be doing when after his ascension back to heaven. Now they're supposed to send this word not just to the Hebrews, but to the diaspora and to all who will receive it all over the world by following his example. And Yahweh Shua just followed the example of the Old Testament prophets. There is nothing new. What is new is the understanding of Yahweh's word to us. And then, since the apostles supposed to understand, remember Peter's dream on the roof of the animals in the sheet, and Yahweh said, eat these animals, and they were unclean animals. Well, here our understanding today, not as apostles, because there are no more apostles, no matter what whoever you follow says he is, but as a disciple, we're supposed to likewise, in like manner, teach this word in love, in faith, without judgment, but with discernment, by Ruach HaKodesh, teach this word to all peoples, in love, faithfulness, humility, understanding, and chakmah, wisdom. That's what we are called to do. That's what I'm doing here now as best I can with the little support that I have. Yahweh help me. So now, with the time that I have left, 13 minutes or so, let's break down these verses in Luke 7, 1 through 10. In the beginning, we see that he sent out Hebrew leaders. Okay? The centurion sent out Hebrew leaders. And what did the Hebrew leaders do? They brought their master's resume. They saying he's worthy because he built us a synagogue. He loves us. He loves black people. And that didn't impress Yahweh Shua. What impressed Yahweh Shua is that he's the heart knower. He knew the man's heart. It wasn't about him loving Hebrews and building a synagogue for them to learn the Torah in. It was that this man truly was converted in his heart just by what he heard about the Messiah. What he heard about HaMashiach, he believed. He knows that the Roman way was the wrong way to live. So he was a converted soul, and he wasn't even at the base of the mountain to hear that sermon. He believed. He believed in HaMashiach. He had faith in his heart. And that resume that our leaders, once again, they flap it all in front of his face, had nothing to do with anything. Oh, he loves black people. You know how you know when a white person really is prejudiced? Oh, I got a black friend. Well, why did you say that? I didn't need you to tell me that. That shows you prejudice. Yeah, you hear it. So I don't want to hear that. And he built a synagogue. Oh, did he go to Amazon buy some seats too? But Yahushua is the heart knower. And then what happens in verse 4 and 5? Okay? In verse 4 and 5 of the narrative, it says, and when they came to Yahushua, they begged him earnestly, saying that he should do this because he was deserving, and he built a synagogue. So Yahushua just went on and ignored that. But verse 6 and 7, Yahushua went with them, and when he was already not far from the house, the centurion sent friends to him, saying to him, Master, do not trouble yourself, because I am not worthy that you should enter under my roof. Therefore I did not even think myself worthy to come to you, but say the word, and my servant will be healed. There is something deep in here that you may have missed. This is why Yahushua came. This man understands authority and subjection. I want to say this part again. He says, you should enter, I'm not worthy you should enter my roof. Therefore I did not even think myself worthy, but by the word my servant will be healed. He said, I also am a man placed under authority. That right there should stick out into your mind. He is saying he knows that Yahweh Shua is placed under authority. Just like he is placed under authority. He is placed under authority by he is not the top man. And he knows that Yahweh Shua, I couldn't think of it, Caesar. Whoever Caesar is over him, just like Yahweh is over Yahweh Shua. He says that he is also placed under authority. That means he knows that Yahweh Shua, even though he is the Messiah, is here under the authority of his Father. That is what touched Yahweh's heart. That this man understands headship and authority. He understands subjection. And I thought that was deep, very deep. And remember, this narrative comes right after the Sermon on the Mount. This tells you Yahweh is walking the walk, not just talking the talk. He immediately is going out to a non-Hebrew to do a miracle. Just like he was trying to teach you discernment of the greater understanding of the Torah, here he is practicing it, just like the Good Samaritan did, who healed the man along the road. Yahweh is practicing what he preached. Now, verse 9 goes on and says, when Yahweh heard these things, he marveled at him and turned around and said to the crowd that followed him, I say to you, I have not found such great faith, not even in Israel. Now, he said this word marvel. Now, Yahweh allowed himself to be marveled. We know he's a heart knower. You can't surprise him, sneak up on him. Gotcha. No. But he's saying that he allowed himself, remember now, he came in the flesh. That way, he can say he lived perfectly in the flesh, which we didn't do, which gives us access to Yahweh. So he allowed himself to feel these emotions and feelings. And he allowed himself to be marveled that this man would have such faith. Don't even come and look at me. Don't waste your shadow on my door, so I'm not worthy of that. You just speak, say it. You spoke and created all things, so I know you can speak and heal this man. Now, another thing that shows that this man has a true heart. This is his Hebrew servant. This ain't another Roman. This is a Hebrew servant that he cares about. He loves a brown brother. He loves this melanin-rich brother because this melanin-rich brother was a good servant. He was a good man. And this servant is probably what touched his heart to even believe in the Messiah. Just like the servant girl in Elisha's story. Elisha healing Naaman because Naaman believed in his Hebrew servant, the little girl. Do you see the parallels there? Two Hebrew servants, children of the white man. So faithful that they influence the man, the leader, the one who has their foot on our neck. The one who chokes us. They were converted by faithfulness of children. Hebrew children. This is deep. I hope you're getting what I'm saying right here. If you're seeing it, don't just read the Bible. Be in it. Be in it. Pick yourself up. Put yourself down inside the story. Understand you will get a greater appreciation. I want you to appreciate what you're reading here. I don't just want to read it to you. This centurion wants Yahweh, the Messiah, to heal his brown servant. He only believes in the Messiah because of this brown servant. He is the enemy, as far as we know. The white man who has his foot on our neck that kills us. This is not new. This same story happened in the so-called Old Testament under Elisha, when his brown little girl servant influenced his heart to believe that he could be healed of his leprosy. Wow. I hope I can get some more followers. They're saying, wow, this brother is deep. He is teaching this word in a deeper way. He's uncovering the layers of the onions. He is helping me understand what I thought I previously knew. And I did know it, but now I'm knowing it in a more spiritual way, a deeper way. Luke 18 and 8. You remember now, in Matthew's account, Matthew 10, 11, and 12, Yahweh says there's going to be a lot of y'all brothers going to be surprised. Y'all going to be like the goats on the left. You're going to be sent to outer darkness because you don't have faith. That's what he said. That's not me. Read it in Matthew 8, 10, 11, and 12. Let me go to Luke 18. As my time is running out. That was the gist of today's lesson. But let me go to Luke 18 and 8. Because this is what Yahweh Shua said. I talk about the end of the age. I tell you that, let me see, 18. That's not the right one. Yes, I tell you that he will avenge them speedily. Nevertheless, when the Son of Man comes, will he really find faith on the earth? Will he really find faith on the earth? What he's saying is, remember that's in English, and it's backwards. What Yahweh was saying is when he returns, there will be no faith on the earth. That's what he's saying. And then I want to save this one because my time is running out. How much time? What I got? 1 minute? Huh?
4 minutes.
Okay, 4 minutes. I still want to save it because I'm gonna give you the homework, and so you can read it ahead of time. I want you to go to Isaiah 26 and 18. All right, so you can see what all of your work and all of your ministry and all your prayers and fasting has produced for Yahweh Shua today. Read it, 26:18. So it's not my words, all right? I'm going to start off with this next week, Yahweh willing. All of our straining and praying and naming and claiming it and blabbing and grabbing it, trying to get Yahweh to co-sign on whatever is the current thing we want him to do for us, for him. We say it's for him, but it really is for us. All of this, we're going to see what all of our hard work going to end up producing. All right? You're going to see, that's what it says. And then I want you to read Isaiah 66, 1 through 11, and see what Yahweh's hard work produces. So I'm going to contrast Isaiah 26, 18, what our hard work produces, with Isaiah 66, verses 1 through 11, what Yahweh's hard work produces. All right? So we're going to do that. And that concludes the Centurion servant. I hope you got the understanding of the glass onion. We're going to do higher ground, Stevie Wonder. That's the but I'll let you know. Now, I want to, once again, give you the phone number for Yahushua Ministries, Pastor Williams. This is who I worship under. The number is 516-253-3286. That's Pastor Williams. On Friday, Shabbat evening at 7 o'clock, they have a Bible lesson. And then on Shabbat morning, daytime, 11 o'clock, another Bible lesson. And then the sermon is around 1 o'clock. So that's Pastor Robert Williams. And then please keep it locked where you got it for my main man, Ron Davis. He comes on in about 30 minutes. And please, my 99% of my support comes from Joe Carter. Follow him on YouTube, Reading Street. But he also, he has another reading. This is Reading Street is a reading he does for children's stories. But he also is doing, it seems like, a reading now also for, for us, grown-ups. And right now he's doing a reading about Pesach, which is coming up. So please follow Joe Carter on YouTube, Reading Street, and he also has another reading. And Pesach, again, I want to remind you, begins on April the 4th at 6:12 p.m. Unleavened bread is on April the 6th. And the last Shabbat is 4/13. Shalom Aleichem, peace be on you.
Keep on learning. Soldiers, keep on pouring. Keep on turning. Won't be too long.
The city program was paid for by Yahweh.